But why are beats so boring nowadays? Yours, mine, everyone's. Well, first of all, when you're listening to a beat, you need to have the feeling like something is missing. And that, of course, is the rapper's voice. And that's why a beat without a rapper can be boring after 30 seconds and sometimes even sooner. You have to change things up, and in this video I will teach you 5 tricks to spice up your drum patterns, which will help you keep the listener hooked. Recording your own unique sounds. All you need to do is go outside and record some random noises with your phone. Then load them up into FL Studio and open up the audio editor. Here you can find sounds that might be cool to layer with this snare, for example. Once you have a selection, drag it into the channel rack with this button. Now open up the properties, and here you can further tweak your sound. This will make your snare sound more unique, and that is because it is. You don't necessarily need to record something, you can also take 2 existing snares and blend them together. Find 2 samples that you really like and drag them into the channel rack. Place a note at the first one, and if you hit the spacebar on your keyboard, it should loop automatically. Disable the second one and open up the first one. Increase the out property, and now the snare sounds short and harsh. We're gonna fix that by taking the transient or the tail of the other sample. Enable the second sample and open up the properties. Increase the in option and listen to the sound while you do it. Now play around with the in, out and length properties until you're satisfied. Boom! You've just created your own snare. This is how some sound designers create drum kits, by the way. They take 2 sounds of someone else's work and then blend them together and then call it their own. Don't be that guy. Instead, learn how to synthesize your own drums. For example, you can create your own snare with only white noise. Go to the channel rack and open up the 3x oscillator plugin, which you have in FL Studio. Enable the dice symbol on all 3 oscillators. When you play a note, it will sound like this. Open up Edison and click the record button. Now play a random note of the white noise. It doesn't matter which one because it's white noise. Select a small part of the recording and drag this button to the channel rack. You can rename it to white noise to keep things organized. Now open up the properties and normalize the sound. Increase the out knob until you get the shape like a snare. Then play around with the length and start properties until you get something like this. Now go back to the channel rack and clone your sample. Open up the duplicate and decrease the pitch with 12 semitones or 1 octave. Now send both your samples to a mixer track. Then go to that mixer track and head over to the effects rack. Open up an equalizer and cut some of the bass frequencies. Also take out some of the highs. Create a band like this and sweep to find the important frequencies that make it sound like a snare. Once you found it, make the band more wide and then turn it down until you like it. You can also add a fruity fast dist effect to the snare to give it some distortion if you'd like. Oh, and if you want to learn how the distortion effect works, check it out here. Next, you need to change things up. Let's say you've just finished a beat loop. Now, what a lot of beat makers do is just copy and paste the chorus and verse a couple of times and then call it a day. If you want someone to rap on your beats, you need to keep things interesting. I'm not saying you have to completely change every 8 bar in your beat. You can do tons of other things to keep things spicy. For example, in the middle of the chorus, cut away all the drums after the last snare. This will make the second part of the chorus hit a lot harder. Like this. If you add a cymbal right here, it will hit even more hard. Dat klopt niet, hè. Dat is volgens mij geen juiste Engels. Maakt niet uit. The next trick is reversing sounds to create a bigger impact. Drag your kick sample into the playlist and double-click it to open up the properties. Enable the reverse option and look at that. That sounds amazing, and you can do it with basically anything. Another really important thing is speed. By learning these shortcuts right here, your workflow in FL Studio will increase by a lot. Now I gotta go. Goodbye.